Good morning. Barb Desautels here with CIR Realty. Welcome to another live stream. Today I have Karen Weiner, and she is from Vancouver. She is going to be talking about what it's like to live in Vancouver and also what it's like to work in Vancouver as a real estate agent. She is with EXP and the Nest Group. So we are going to be talking to Karen today. Welcome, Karen. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, Barb. I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Another beautiful day in Calgary. How's
Okay.
it?
It's a little cold here. Us West Coasters are not doing that well with this cold weather. So,
Oh, you guys are babies. You don't get the minus 40 that we work in here.
thank goodness.
This is true. This is true. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about Calgary's market as well as Vancouver's market and the differences between our two markets as well. So first of all, Karen, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, so I'm from South Africa originally, from Cape Town, where the weather is even more beautiful than it is here. And I didn't come here by myself. I actually came here, my whole family, my parents, my brother, and I. We all immigrated together when I was 19. And so I'm not going to say exactly how many years ago that was. So don't bother getting out your calculators. But I've been here a long time. And when we moved here, I was originally well, I've done a couple of things in my career, but I was originally in travel and tourism. So I was in the restaurant and hotel business, and then I was a travel agent for 12 years. And I've been very lucky. I've traveled the world. It's still one of my passions. But both my parents were in the restaurant business and then pivoted into real estate. And when I decided to make a change, they said, well, why don't you try real estate? And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to follow in my parents' footsteps and do exactly what they did. And my mother was concerned, it's a tough business to be in. And, my father was like, oh, just give it a go. You'll be fine. And here I am, 19 years in the business.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah. And I love it. It was really great having that those, I guess, role models, or sort of watching people in real estate. It wasn't so unfamiliar to me. And I've really enjoyed it. Like there's a lot more to this business than just buying and selling houses. So I love the relationships that I build in this business. And I think that's what's kept me here for 19 years. So I'm a real people person. So besides real estate, I also teach dancing once a week. I teach ballroom and Latin dancing,
Yes.
which unfortunately with COVID, that's been put on the back burner. But we plan big dance parties 2 or 3 times a year. So I get my creative outlet there.
Yeah.
I love home design. So I used to do all my own home staging. Luckily now I'm part of a team and we have a fabulous stager. So I don't have to haul furniture anymore, but I love home design. That's another real passion of mine. And then anything to do with the water, swimming and sailing and yeah. So, but real estate takes up a lot of my time. That's pretty much my first love, I would say.
Well, you know what? Real estate does take up our time. Absolutely. So you said you're part of a team, and what is the name of your team, Karen?
So we're the Nest Real Estate Group. Nest as in bird's nest.
Okay.
So I have a really great team. We've grown quite a bit over the last couple of years. So we're quite a big team now. And it's fairly new for me. I've been part of this team now. This is going on to my 3rd year, but I've always worked just by myself for the most part. And so going into a team was a whole different world. But I have to say, there's a lot of pros, a lot of support. I love being part of a team, and we can all play on each other's strengths and weaknesses. So, I'm terrible at statistics, which I've told you before, but Darcy on my team, on the team, he lives and breathes trends and statistics. So, it's really nice to be able to kind of draw on all the different talents that we have on the team. So
Excellent,
yeah,
excellent. Yeah, it's nice to have someone else to bounce ideas off as well, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
so it's been a whirlwind for real estate, I think, in Vancouver as well as in Calgary. So I know that there's a couple of differences as well between what we do here in Alberta and what you do in BC. So tell me a little bit about the differences when it comes to real estate.
Well, obviously, when it comes to the actual, housing market, that's, something that you can tell us a bit more about, because I don't know the Calgary market really at all. But the way we do real estate here in BC has changed for us. About 3 years ago now, we changed from being able to represent both the buyer and the seller to only being able to represent one party. So, it's complex and way too much to unpack in the time that we've got here. But essentially, we represent either the buyer or the seller so that everybody has their own protected representation, which you do anyway when you're working for both sides. You still have got ethical obligations to keep things private from each other. But now it's sort of it's been made far more formalized, a little bit more like, you'd be with a lawyer, anything you do and say can and you be used against you in a negotiation. It's really a lot more like that. Now, that's not to say we can't write the deal for both parties, but we can only actually advise and represent one party. If the other party wants us to actually do the paperwork, we have to completely, they're unrepresented, and they sign all sorts of paperwork to that effect to understand that they're unrepresented. I can't give any advice. I can only advise one party, and so I'm really their confidant. So I think I see this often when people are coming from other parts of the world or other parts of Canada. They'll phone up the listing realtor here, and they think that it's going to be advantageous to work with the listing realtor. And then what they don't understand is that that can't happen, and there's no monetary advantage doing that either, which was a big part of the reason for changing the rules. So really, when people are coming here and are looking for property, they should find themselves a buyer's realtor if they're looking to buy, and start working with them right from the get-go with their own representation. So that's one big difference in the way we do things. And then I'm sure that there's lots of differences in terms of the speed of the market, and just, the frenetic pace of our market. I mean, it's crazy right now. It's been COVID crazy, and I think that's the world over, not even just BC or even just Canada. I think the world over it's been crazy, but I get the sense that our market generally, certainly in the 19 years I've been doing this, for the most part, our market is a fast-paced market. We've had a few lulls, but in general, we are, it is a very desirable place to live, and real estate is always competitive. I don't really remember the last time that there was, real deals to be had.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I would say definitely the Vancouver market is hot and has been hot for a long time. And I know that, there's lots of people who, especially right downtown, you can't afford it. So you have to move out into the suburbs. And it's busy here for sure. Right now, we are in a crazy market, but we have had our lulls for sure. Now, the difference is that we are able to represent both buyer and seller. Now, you have the option to represent the buyer and the seller, being that you could represent them, being loyal to both of them. Again, though, you cannot tell the buyer or the seller why each are selling or why they're buying, and you cannot tell them how much they're willing to pay. So that's if you're going to do what we call transactional brokerage. You can also put the buyer or if it's a seller, into a customer status. And again, they have to fill out various different forms like you, understanding that we are not there to representing them. We're just there to facilitate the paperwork for them. but they need to do their own due diligence. So that changes things, right? But we can represent both buyers and sellers here. So that's different as well. You were telling me earlier that also if you're someone from your team, you're considered one. So you
Yes.
couldn't take a buyer. If a buyer calls you and says, I want to see the house, and it's your listing, Karen, you couldn't assign that to someone from your team.
No. So what? No, you can't. So what we've actually done here, or most people have done here, is they've worked out great partnerships with other trusted agents that they know, and will work out a referral basis. So if we see that, the writings on the wall that this is going to happen, because, and especially in a fast-paced market, you may not even know that you're about to, that your buyer suddenly is interested in your listing, right? And so then we will refer it out to somebody completely separate, arm's length, and so then that takes care of that. Again, there's some it seems a little strange because you still know them, so we've got a lot of legal tightropes to walk, which is part of having a good agent is somebody who understands those rules and can do that. But we have to, if it's part of our team, we still have to refer it out to someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other difference that I noticed was for us, closing date means closing date. So possession date, that happens all in one day. Now in BC, it's 2 separate days, which is a shocker to me. But yeah, our possession day, it's at January 31st at 12 noon. You get the keys at 12 noon, or sometimes a little bit delayed, but you get the key that day. So tell us about the process for you in BC.
So it's not mandatory that it has to be on separate days.
Okay.
It can be done. It can be facilitated on the same day. The lawyers don't love it. So, we like to keep our lawyers and our notaries happy, and we don't want there to be, any last minute glitches. So generally it's accepted that it's done on separate days. So typically it will be completion, which is the day that the money and the title changes hands, will be one day. And then the next day, typically at 12 noon, but can be any time that you want to write on the contract, is when the keys will be handed over. But because it's done on separate days, if you've got parties who are buying and selling, and then they're buying your listing, and then the people your listing, your sellers now need to buy something else, you've got this domino effect happening. And of course, lawyers and the land title office don't work on the weekends. So we've only got weekdays to facilitate things like completion. Moving in can happen on the weekend, but the completion has to happen on weekdays. So you actually can find yourself dominoing and getting wider and wider apart on those completion and possession dates, so that everybody in between can facilitate their move. So you hope that somebody on the one end of it is like renting, so that you're not having to deal with that. But I would say it's unusual that you're going to have it spread a week apart. The averages you'd be looking at between 1 and 3 day spread between completion and possession. And when people do complete, it's the title gets changed on completion date. So the responsibility for the place actually happens for the new buyer, even though they haven't moved in there yet. And they don't pay the mortgage and the strata fees. They pay interest on the mortgage for those days. So it's a really nominal fractional amount. And the taxes and the strata fees and all of that are adjusted to the day they move in. So they're not going to pay extra. They pay a nominal amount extra. It's really negligible. But it would be just so much easier if everything was just the same day.
Yeah. I like it all on one day.
Yeah.
So that was a shocker to me. So I see Gary. Thank you so much, Gary Mansour. Thank you for your comment. If you have any questions for Karen, Gary, go ahead and type it into the chat, and we'll definitely answer it. If anybody else who's watching, if you have any questions for myself or for Karen about Calgary's real estate market or about Vancouver's real estate market, Karen will go ahead and answer that one for sure. So, Karen.
I would like to just say something, though, which I think is what people will find quite interesting. When you were talking about the differences in the market, when we were talking about the hot market, and you were talking about people moving out to the suburbs, which I said is happening everywhere. What we actually have found in Vancouver, and I think we probably found in Calgary as well, is that people were moving out of the downtown core, so out of their one-bedroom condos, because they were now working from home. Everyone was working from home and they didn't have to go into the office anymore. So they could move out to the suburbs, have a little bit more space. And so traditionally, where you could really struggle to buy a good investment in Vancouver, and I'm talking about a good investment where your return is good. You know, you bought it for the equity mostly. You were rarely doing, you know, you were typically subsidizing the mortgage or the rental anyway. But over the last couple of years, what we've seen is that now was the time to get into your little 1 and 2 bedroom investment condos in Vancouver, because people were moving out of it, but we're starting to slowly see people moving back to the city center. So I don't know if that's the same in Calgary, but certainly we have the investments. There's a lot of investors right now looking to buy, and now a great time is still to get into the downtown Vancouver core, which historically is tough to get into.
Okay. Yeah. So we typically, right now, we see a lot of people coming into Calgary. We're getting not as much from Vancouver, but a lot from Toronto, from Ontario. So we're getting a lot of people who are in the GTA and they cannot afford anything there. So they'll either stay there to continue renting, you know, where they're living, but they want to put their money into property. And so we see a lot of people coming into Calgary. And yes, when you can work from, and not just Calgary, all of Alberta, to be honest, just had a client move from Mississauga into Edmonton. So it's all over Alberta. And the price point is very attractive for them. As from a perspective of, you know, they can put their money down and they can rent it out still and have some equity. So we are seeing a lot of people moving in, and it's for me, I feel that you can still gain equity when you buy a property here in Calgary, especially if you're an investor, and also for somebody who wants to, you know, move from if they're in downtown Vancouver, they sell their property. It's they can still come and buy a single family home here in Calgary, as opposed to just an apartment condo, right? So it is.
A couple of my clients are doing, and they're buying homes through you, and they sold condos here. So
yeah. So it's fantastic, right? So we currently have so many investors, but we are short on land, I would say, for new builds. We are seeing that the new builds they're slower. But the inventory is a little bit slower as well when it comes to pre-owned. So definitely. Now, I see there's a question here from Tyron, and he's asking how many single-family homes are listed in Calgary currently. So right now, I'm going to pull up that chart. I actually have that one. I will share that with you here. Give me 2 seconds.
Please don't ask me the same question, Tyron, because I don't have the stats. I can always look them up, but I don't have them at my fingertips like Barb.
Yeah, I just pulled one up. So we will, I'll share so he can at least, I'll share my my screen here, and then you can see the So, I pulled up the sold information. Give me 2 seconds while I pull up the current listing information. It's a bit tricky. I need another computer in order to right now we have 673 single family homes listed in Calgary. So 673 current listings, and those are single family homes. And that's down from our usual as well. So that is why we are we're having a lot of bidding war. So this is a good segue into the differences in pricing. I'm going to share my screen and put, Karen's just going to explain kind of what the pricings are. And I will put her slide here. So again, I'll share with you.
So I will actually preface this by saying that the statistics that I pulled up when I was doing this, the information for everyone, was actually based on December, because we don't have our January stats yet. Those won't come out for a few more days. And what I did notice was, even from the pricing that you're about to see now, for average sort of pricing, they've actually gone up quite substantially in January. So this is out of date already, which is kind of crazy. So what I did was I pulled from East Vancouver and Maple Ridge. So, I don't like to kind of do the whole of Greater Vancouver, because it's just so many different areas. So East Vancouver is not as expensive as Vancouver West, but it's sort of just a little bit further east. The way it kind of works for us is that the further west you are, the more expensive it is. And then we get further out east, it gets a little less expensive. Further south, a little less expensive. So this is sort of your typical, in December, you could buy a condo in East Vancouver. This was just a typical, a typical small condo, and this you could buy was 608,000. But now the same condo in Maple Ridge, which is a suburb that is approximately, I would say, 50-minute drive, depending where in Maple Ridge you're going. So it's 45 minutes to an hour from East Vancouver out to the suburbs, and for the same type of condo, was $529,900. So
Wow.
Yeah, but not, I struggled to find one that was really exactly the same, because in East Vancouver, the condos are quite a bit older. Maple Ridge being the suburbs, everything's quite a bit newer. So not only is there that price difference, but you can also get something a lot newer in the suburbs.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you can buy a condo for that price point. And for me, I have you can get a single family home for that same price here in Calgary. So it's quite interesting how the difference, what difference we have.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share.
That's 800 square foot condo. So that would typically be like a 1 and a den or a small 2-bedroom.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's still though, because right here in Calgary, you can actually get a single family home. Let me share my screen again and show you what you could buy in Calgary for, 500,000 and 600,000.
Right.
So right here, this is a single family home that was sold, and it was on the market only for 14 days, and it sold for 509. And it's in our community at Coventry Hills it's central, and it's a pretty nice place, and it's a single family home that you can purchase. So what a difference. This is with some upgrades as well, right?
How old is that home, Barb?
So this one is built in 2005, and it's 1322 square feet. So it's still a newer condo comparing to, a newer home comparing to, you can get older homes, obviously, but this one, and they've done some work, right?
And I'm looking at 3,000 square foot lot size. So, wow.
Yeah. And that's a single family home. And this particular one here, that was sold for 606. Again, it's a single family home, and it's located in the community of Garrison Woods. And this was built in 2006, and it's 18 square feet. It's on the market for 62 days, but it's, again, a nice single family home that you can buy here in Calgary, right?
Right. Wow.
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of differences, obviously, but I think that a lot of people like the idea of course, of living in, in Vancouver. The weather, of course, is one of the big factors, right?
Do many people there buy homes that have basement suites that they can rent out, or carriage homes, laneway homes? Is that a big thing there?
Yep, we do have homes with suites and that people can rent out. Now you have some that are legal and some that are illegal. Our city. You can go to the city and get an approval with your homes. If they've got a basement suite and it's illegal and you want to make it legal, there's a process that you have to go through the city of Calgary, but it can happen. We do also have laneway homes, and only in certain areas can you have the laneway homes. But again, you would need approval through the city of Calgary for that. But it's happening. And a lot of our new communities with the land use, they've changed that moving forward. So you can put on a home with a suite in the basement, right? With all the codes and the egress windows, all the protocols that you need, right?
Right.
Yeah. How about in Vancouver? And are a lot of people doing that as well?
Yeah, and that has been happening for quite a long time. People just find it so beneficial to have a home with a basement suite because it's a mortgage helper. I mean, a lot of people need that mortgage helper to get into a detached home, but it's the same thing with the zoning. We have a lot of suites that are, illegal suites. And so you do have to get, the zoning does have to allow for that suite. But we are seeing changes happening because we've got such a supply issue here as well, and so we are we're seeing that change, and we're also seeing more laneway homes being allowed to be built. That's become quite a thing over the last number of years, and so we're starting to see the zoning change, and I think we're going to I'm seeing more and more talk of allowing two dwellings on one lot, and I think we're going to see these changes being made even more as we go forward because there's just not enough land. So
yeah, when you're on an island, it's
yeah, well,
you've only got so far to push out, right?
We run into we run into the sea at some point, right? So,
yeah.
So with the edge of the earth here.
And then I'm going to share my screen again. So Karen has also provided another for a single family home and just sort of an average. And again, remember Karen said since she's gotten the information, the prices have changed as well, right? So we're going to go into that. I'm going to share my screen again. Oh, sorry, Karen. There we are.
And when you talk about 62 days, I mean, homes don't stay on the market, homes are selling here. The average time on the market is between 7 and 10 days, depending on whether it's a condo or a home. And that's not even really representative because that counts from the days that it actually gets put on the market, not necessarily the days that we don't show right away and we hold off on offers for a specific day. So in reality, most of these are selling on the first day. Then they're going and competing offers.
Yeah.
So
we are seeing that here as well. A lot of properties are selling on the first day, and they are same thing. They're doing their due diligence with financing and home inspection, right? So it is a lot of them are selling on the first day with multiple offers. And people are waiting, putting it up on the market maybe on a Thursday, and then Tuesday or Sunday they will do that's the day they'll actually look at offers. So,
right.
So this home here.
That home, yeah. So the homes that I've pulled up are around 2,500 square feet. So they're very, very average homes. 4-bedroom homes, 2,500 square feet. The big difference here is that the lot size is almost double for the Maple Ridge house. So, for Vancouver, you're looking at lot sizes 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. And Maple Ridge, well, I shouldn't say double, but Maple Ridge, your lot sizes are around 6,000 to 7,000 square feet. So that's a big difference in land. Also, this house, the home in Maple Ridge, you're looking at 25 to 35-year-old homes versus East Vancouver. Those homes are, you're looking at 50 to 60 years old for some of the homes in East Vancouver. So, you know, but that's your average price, 1.6, and it's gone up since then. But in Maple Ridge, you're getting a lot more. You're getting a lot more land. You're getting a newer house at 1.280.
Okay.
So, and that's East Vancouver. So now if we were to actually go further west in Vancouver, a home like this, you're looking at probably closer to 2.5 million.
Wow, wow. And this particular home here, would this be two dwellings or it's just a single, would it have a suite?
That particular home is actually have it in front of me here, not for screen sharing, but this is just a 2-story. That home does not have a basement.
Okay.
That East Vancouver house is 50 years old, 3 bedrooms. And that one's 1923 square feet, this particular one. So it's a bit smaller than the average.
Okay.
What I wanted to do was I pulled up the averages for sold prices, and these are the average sold prices. So I wanted to find some homes that match those average sold prices. So this is basically, you know, in East Van, what you're getting for 1.6 is 3,200 square foot lot, 1923 square foot house, 3 bedrooms, and only 2 stories. And it's a 50-year-old house built in 1971.
Nice.
And then by comparison, in Maple Ridge, that lot size is 6178. The house is 31 years old. It's still a 2-story, 2163 square feet, so very, very similar. But, you know, the big story there, of course, is it's also a 3-bedroom, but the big story is the lot size at 6178 and the age at 31 years old.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, what a difference. And you said now Maple Ridge is about a 50-minute drive from down to, you know.
Yeah, so East Vancouver is a
the
huge
core.
spread again.
Okay.
So, you know, and Maple Ridge is a huge spread again. So depending where you are in each of those places, you are looking at 50 minutes to, you know, an hour commute time from East Vancouver. But then there's a lot in between, you know. There's plenty in between where I live, which is Port Moody. It's kind of half, you know, probably a little closer to East Van, but sort of halfway. I'm 25 minutes from East Vancouver. And so you know, you've got Burnaby, you've got Port Moody, Coquitlam, you've got Pitt Meadows, you know, as you go east. So there's quite a lot in between those 2 suburbs. It's not like Maple Ridge feels like it's way out there because you've got all these suburbs in between. But I wanted to kind of really showcase the difference between, you know, the suburbs. Now there's also suburbs even further out than that have grown even more than Maple Ridge during COVID because people have been able to build massive homes out there. They're dream homes.
Yes.
You know, areas like Chilliwack, which has been typically very rural, had, you know, the biggest growth now. I'm not going to quote statistics, but the growth in Chilliwack was through the roof. And no one would ever think that you would sort of go and, you know, you'd never see people from Vancouver move to Chilliwack. But we've been seeing that over the last couple of years because they can build their dream home and live out there and work from home and have beautiful backyard. And so it's a very changed world right now.
Yeah, yeah. And if you can work from home, right? I mean, that's what's making things happen, right? If you can work from home,
Absolutely.
why not? Why not go and be where you can build your dream home and, you know, potentially never move again, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm going to share my screen and show you what you can get for 1.6 in Calgary and for 1.28. It's quite interesting. So let me share my screen here. So this is a semi, yeah. So it's two homes here. So it's a semi-detached and it's located in Altadore. So this one sold for 1.28. Again, this is what you can get. And it was built, it's a brand, I mean, fairly new built, 2016 and 2448 square feet. So this is what you can purchase in Calgary for 1.28. completely redone in inner city neighborhood, close to walking, parks, reservoir. So lots of square footage, lots of bedroom, and it's quite interesting. I'm going to show you what you can get for 1.6. It's also quite shocking, the differences that we get. So this property here is 1.6. It's sold for 1.6. So again, in a desirable location. And look at the square feet, almost 4,000 square feet, built in 2005.
Wow! And look at the what's the land?
Springbank.
How big is that lot? Oh, it's a quarter of an acre.
Yeah, right here.
Wow.
Yeah, and some stunning views, some stunning staircase, and in a great location in the city. You can see the mountains, right? So yeah, it's interesting what you can buy.
Now, do most of your condos have rental restrictions, or are most of them rentable, or does it depend?
For condominiums, depends. It depends, because some will allow Airbnb, some will not allow Airbnb. That's a big thing right now. A lot of people wanting to do Airbnb, and we see a lot of the condo corporation trying to push back at that. So that's a struggle. There's various rules, right? I have a condo myself right down in east, right in the city core and East Village, and our corporation has elected not to allow any Airbnb, right? So that, again, that's the corporation's. If you're going to buy into a condo and you think you can rent it out as an Airbnb, and even if you're renting it, the terms will have to be 6 months plus in a lot of places if they don't want Airbnb. So make sure you check into that. How is it in Vancouver? What are you seeing?
So a lot of our condos have rental restrictions, period. So it'll say something like, they're all different, but many will say like you're only allowed 10% of rentals, and so then the rest has to be owner occupied. Now that is different for newer condos. The rules have changed for the most part. So for the newer condos, they are able to be rented out. And if you buy into a brand new build, of course, you're grandfathered in, which means you can always rent it out. But the rules have changed around rentals for the newer condos. But if you're looking at anything that's a little bit older, you have to be very careful, because you've got to carefully look at the rental restrictions. You're not going to necessarily be able to rent it out. It may only allow, as I say, 10% of rentals in the entire building, or, where I'm in a townhouse complex, 78 townhouses, we only allow 5 of them to be rented out. So if you want to rent it out, you have to go on a wait list. And then for Airbnb, that was huge in the city. And then they changed it so that you had to get a permit to have Airbnb. Which fair enough, because we had such a shortage of rentals anyway, and now everybody who could rent their place out was doing Airbnb. So, and most condos do not allow Airbnb. Most of our stratas have pushed back on that. There's a handful of buildings, really just a smattering of buildings that will allow short-term rentals. For the rest, short-term rentals are not allowed. So it's very hard to find a condo or a townhouse that's going to allow Airbnb. It's not impossible, but it is difficult to find. So most people have tenants in on, if you can rent your condo, most people have tenants in on either a month-to-month basis, or even more so we're seeing on a 1-year lease. That tends to be more the norm. If you can rent out your condo.
Yeah. Wow, we don't have those strict restrictions that we can only have a certain amount. Most of the time, if you're buying a condo, you can rent it out. We've not had any issues when it comes to that. So that's interesting. So they're a little bit different as well between what you can do there and what you can do here in
but
Calgary.
But that will that change. That will change in that, as I say, over the last it's approximately 12 years, anything that was built in more recent times, and I say like around 10 to 12 years, the developer, instead of the strata deciding, the developer can actually decide. And most of the developers have said, we don't mind if the whole thing is, let's allow rentals for the next 99 years. That's fine. And then the strata cannot override that. That's set in stone, right? And that got changed because of, I'm such a shortage of rentals. So, that still feels like a newer condo for a lot of people, but obviously as time goes on, that will be set in stone and will slowly, potentially change the culture of the rentability of condos.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So that's good. So if somebody is moving from Calgary to Vancouver in this crazy market and they're looking at buying a condo, something to look into. You can get a hold of Karen and she would put you in the right direction, make sure you're taken care of. Yeah, that's amazing. So as far as prices go, and we know that both markets are having a lot of multiple offers and competitive offers. How are you guys dealing with that?
Well, it's a little bit of a hope and a prayer, but there's definitely things that we do to try and get our clients the best chance of winning in a multiple. And so one of the things is we're seeing a lot of subject-free offers now. Obviously, without going into the whole discussion about what is a subject, and that's something we obviously discuss with our buyers when we meet with them and explain the whole process. But basically, people are going into these offers condition-free. They're not even having a subject to financing condition, which is scary. Many of them are not having subject to inspection, basically subject-free and over asking. But when you're and there's no formula. People say to me, well, if there's 5 offers, what's the formula? How much should we go over? There is no formula, because you don't know who that outlier is who's going to be willing to pay way over, and the bidding is blind bidding. So a couple of things that we do is I always ask my clients if they'd be willing to get in and do a pre-inspection. So that means they're going to have to pay their $500 or $600 and may not even win the bid. But at least if they want to have peace of mind, they'll go in and do a pre-inspection, and then they can go in without a subject to inspection clause. If we're looking at strata, I get all the documents and we read all the documents ahead of time so that we can go in without that condition on there.
Yeah.
For
Let me
subject
just
to
interrupt.
financing.
1 second. So strata is basically condos. We have
Condos and
townhouses with your condominium documents. So yeah, sorry,
that's
Karen,
right.
go on.
Because we always ask for 2 years of documents. We want to read all the reports, all the financials, all the insurance, everything, and all the minutes from the meetings. So we will get our hands on those if we can, and we do have a ruling now that those strata documents have to be ordered before the place is listed. So they should be available to anybody who wants to see them, to any potential buyers who wants to see them ahead of time. So then people can go in prepared that they've read those documents. As far as subject to financing goes, some people who are going in with an all cash offer, or who are maybe putting down a very large down payment, their lender may be fine with saying, there's no risk going in subject free. But if you have a high ratio mortgage, even if you're pre-approved, the bank is still going to look at the building. They're still going to make sure that what you've bid on it, that they're willing to back. And what if they're not? What if there's a shortfall? So going in without any subject to financing, without any backup cash for those kind of situations, can be really risky. So in those cases, we try and get a letter from the bank or the mortgage broker to basically show that the client is pre-approved. So if we can't go in without that subject, we try and make it as favorable as possible. But unfortunately, you are competing in many cases with people who are going in without any financing condition. And then the other thing that we try and do is I always ask my clients to write a cover letter. And some people say, well, that's really hokey and it's not going to make any difference. But, I have actually seen it make a huge difference. Buying and selling is emotional. for both buyers and sellers. And so sometimes, if all things are equal, it could be that letter with the color photographs and and a little bit about who's buying that can make the difference. If someone's selling their family home that they've been in for 40 years, they might want to know that the people who are going to move in are going to raise their family, or maybe they want to give somebody a leg up or give them a break. And maybe they're not going to accept their offer right away, but they may give them the opportunity to counter. They may give them that first chance. So, and it may make no difference at all, but it's kind of like you just got to take everything and throw it all against the wall and see what sticks. And sometimes we have to do this 6 or 7 times before we win a bid, and people go, well, what's the point? It didn't work last time. But it's if you don't buy, if you don't buy the lottery ticket, you can't win. Yeah. So these are all the types of things that we try and do beforehand to prep for the offer. If you go in with an offer full of conditions in this market, you are already going to be behind. Even if your offer is the highest bid, if you've got all those conditions, there might be somebody whose bid is just a bit lower. They are likely going to be the ones who they will counter first to try and get them up to your price, because their offer is condition free.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to be able to just put a sold sticker on their place the minute that the offer is accepted? Because an offer can fall apart if there's conditions on it. Yeah. So I'm not advocating for condition-free offers at all. They scare me. I don't like this type of market. Most realtors, I would say, do not like this type of market. There's a huge amount of responsibility that we feel when coaching our clients through this, but this is just the reality.
Yeah, yeah. And we have the same situation going on here, where people are coming in with, no conditions, no subjects, no conditions at all, and quick close, and whatever closing you're looking for, that's what they're doing. So we are doing the same thing, preparing our clients. And yeah, you may not win the first couple, but you will get there. We will win it. And I want to tell people that if you are purchasing a home and you need to get your financing, and you put in a subject, no conditions on the offers, you have to think about that, because you're in a liability. You will lose your deposit if you cannot get your financing. Maybe do your due diligence before. If you think you're going to put in an offer, contact your mortgage broker. Ask them to, send that information to the bank right away. A lot of people can do that and get an approval, as opposed to going in blindly and then perhaps losing your deposit, right? Be careful out there when you're looking at that. But we are getting a lot of offers that are coming in with no financing, and what they call bully offers. People are they want you to take them right away. So.
Yeah, we have the whole bully offer situation as well. And, sometimes it's worked out for my clients and it's great.
Yeah.
But other times, it does't. Then that doesn't mean that's the end of the line. Then when everyone else makes their offers, the bully offer for everyone, that's an offer that, even though they're saying that they're only going to look at offers on, say, Tuesday night, someone will come and present the offer on Sunday. And as realtors, we are obligated to present that offer to our sellers. And our sellers can decide if they want to deal with that offer. But we do still have to give everybody out there, all the other buyers, we have to give them fair notice that we do have a bully offer in hand, just in case they still want to come to the table. So, it's a stressful situation, and some sellers just say, no, we've had so much interest, I'd rather just wait until Tuesday, because I think we're going to get, way more offers coming in. And they're taking a risk as well, because what if they don't get an offer just as good as the bully offer? But most people are rolling the dice and waiting for that competing offer. And the other thing that and this is a really hard one, and I think it's hard for everyone to come up with this number. I think, if you're pre-approved for a certain dollar amount, then that's it. That's your top line. And even if you wished you could go in higher, you can't. Like, you can afford $1 million and that's it. That's the line. And if it's sold for 1.1, all you can say is, well, I couldn't have afforded a mortgage at 1.1 anyway, so it wasn't meant to be. But when you're going into an offer and something's listed at, say, $1 million, and now you don't know what you should bid, I always advise people, you're only probably going to get one opportunity to make that good impression. You may not get a counter.
Yep.
The sellers may choose somebody else's offer. And if you bid 1.1 and you wake up tomorrow morning and you call me and you say, what did the house sell for last night? The one we didn't win on. And I say, apparently it sold for 1.125. And you say, "Ah, we would have paid 1.125. Well, you know what? Then you should have gone in at 1.125. You need to put in I like to call it a no regrets offer. So when you heard it sold at 1.125, you can honestly look at me and go, well, you know what? We don't think it was worth 1.125. So good on them. We're fine with it. But if you're going to kick yourself, then you didn't go in high enough. And it sounds really harsh to say that, but unfortunately, that's the way it works. And it's it's very hard to know where your line is, especially if you are approved to say 1.5.
Yeah.
It's very hard. No one wants to overpay. So my job is to give you all the comparables of what things have sold for in this market. I go back 3 months, but on average, I'd go back 6 months, all the comparables. So we can talk about this and try and decide what you feel it's worth. But at the end of the day, that home is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And you have to decide, what are you willing to pay for it? And there's no right or wrong. Maybe you're willing to throw everything you've got at it. And someone else may say, you're crazy, you're overpaying. But for you, it's worth it. You have to go in with that number. And sometimes it takes people 2 or 3 tries to kind of wrap their head around it, because it's a weird concept.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a weird concept, and it's a crazy market. So before we wrap things up, Karen, anything that you would like to tell the people about the Vancouver real estate market, how things are done there, and anything, and to get a hold of.
I think for buyers, I mean, I've talked a lot about buyers, but I feel like there's a lot of people you might want to move to, say, Calgary, and so they need to sell here. And there's this idea out there that in this market anything sells. So just your breakfast dishes can be in the sink, and it doesn't matter; it's still going to sell, right? And I've always believed this, and part of why I really gel with my team so well is we have this same philosophy. We stage every one of our listings that is stageable, even in this market, because to me, so if you're going to get 5 offers if it's not staged, but you're going to get 20 offers if it is staged, that could be the difference. Honestly, in this market, that could be the difference, like $50,000 to $100,000.
Yeah.
So we
Wow.
provide staging for free with our listings. We have a professional stager, and we provide the staging for free. So why wouldn't you have the home staged, even if it's going to sell quickly? Why do you want to leave money on the table? It doesn't matter what market you're in. And then if you're in a slower market, staging for sure helps the property. So that's a big part of what we do. And I do really think that it helps hugely. So yeah, I think that's the one thing we didn't really touch on, that I think I want people to know if they're selling their properties here. That don't just assume that anything sells. You still got to put in all that same due diligence, no matter what the market is.
That's actually a very, very good comment, because so many people think that you can just put your home up on the market and because it's busy, it will sell. But there are still homes that are on the market that have not sold. So not everything is flying off the shelf. And Karen, if they want to get a hold of you, if they're moving to Vancouver, if they have any questions, where do they find you?
Well, I usually give up my cell number. And you can text me on that number. And so that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, or else you could email me. But I would say probably text is the best introduction to start with, and the easiest introduction to start with. And then I'm happy to jump on a Zoom call or a FaceTime call. I'm doing that even with local clients because of COVID. We do that a lot more, but certainly I do that with all of my clients coming in from elsewhere. And if you are wanting me to do like a FaceTime tour, I can look at the property, walk you through it, even if you're over there before you come out here. So I've been doing that a lot more as well for my clients who are coming into Vancouver.
Yeah.
From all over. Yeah.
Yes. And if you're in Vancouver and you're watching this, whether you're watching it live or you're going to watch it on a replay, you can get a hold of Karen as well and her group, and they would be more than willing to come out and help you and do the Zoom call. So,
absolutely.
One question left for you, Karen. What is it that you love about Vancouver? What is it that makes you stay there?
You know, in the summer, I have a love affair with the city. I'm not going to lie to you. In the winter, I kind of look around because I'm not a skier. People who ski love it here. I look around and I go, I need to go somewhere tropical. And then summer rolls around and I fall in love with the city all over again. It's breathtaking. I love to be able to I love the ocean. I love the water. So for me, I can't imagine not living near the water. I grew up in Cape Town. So I've always been near the ocean. So honestly, for me, that's my great love. And I also have a fabulous dance community that I've built up here. So that dance community is a big part of my life in Vancouver here.
So if you love the water and you love the summertime and you're thinking about moving to Vancouver, give Karen a call. As she said, on her cell phone, a text would be great. Now, we're all finished up. We're going to take it into a dance. And Karen and I are going to dance it out. Thank you so much for being here, guys. If you have any questions in regards to Calgary real estate market, you can reach me on my cell phone number at 403-667-9869. And again, it's Barb Desautels with CIR Realty. Thank you, guys. And we are going to dance this one out.
Yay! Good way to start the Sunday.
Here we go. Thank you so much, Karen. Have a fantastic Sunday, and we will see you next month. Take care, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.